Well, Jeff, it's nice to spend some time with you. I think what's really interesting that I would love to chat with you about today is that sort of dual role that our rural districts often have leaders take on. And you were talking about not only being superintendent, but also principal. And I would be so curious as to the, I guess we could say challenges, but also opportunities in wearing multiple hats. How have you adjusted to that, and what can we learn, other districts around the country in that experience?
I think the beauty of having the blended role is I don't lose connection with kids. I always have that personal approach, conversation, and touch with kids that I use in the superintendent role. So all the conversations that we have at the board level, at the district level, really is focusing on the students.
Let's talk a little bit about resources. So a lot of conversations around sort of new models that are looking at integrating in the private sector, corporate America, to help offset any budget shortfalls or goals that we might have as a district, and means and methods to move that along faster. Where are you with that in incorporating corporate America into public education from a funding perspective to help support what you are trying to do?
Well, what I'm trying to do currently is actually use the federal or the general fund dollars I receive from my state, as well as my title dollars, to make education effective in my district. I think it's great to use the resources and industry outside the district to help support the district, but sometimes we need to look at, can we make it happen on the dollar we receive from the state? I think that we can do that first and then be successful at that. Then the partnerships we create are very meaningful partnerships that really impact our kids in a very special way.
So really you're talking about being effective with the money that you have already coming in.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, getting rid of the waste in that regard, or being mindful of that.
I got 2 jobs here, so yeah.
you know full well. Let's talk a little bit about students and how they're changing from when you and I were students, and that we went from a consumer model of gaining knowledge to now creating. Students are being creators, and they're taking ownership of their learning.
Yes, they are.
There's now a lot of discussion around how we document that learning that they are taking ownership of and communicating that out. How are you seeing that, and how does technology play a role in providing that ownership for a student and then communicating that to parents and families in a way that is up to date with what we all expect in the way in which we interface with technology and our own relationships with people?
Great question. In our particular district, we have a personalized mastery-based environment, K-12. So it is a free flow open model for all of our middle school, high school students, no bells, no whistles. And kids are owning their learning and managing that. And it's happening as well as in the elementary level, K-5 setting. Kindergarten students managing their learning, owning the learning, developing habits, those soft skills to be able to be successful in that learning environment is powerful. And what that's created is an interesting communication that's happening between the home and the school, where now our kids are constantly sharing the successes of daily work with their parents through apps. And so our conversations have increased exponentially from school to home. But it's not from the teacher calling because of bad behavior upon the student's issue part. It's really about the students sharing, Mom, Dad, look at this work.
Yeah, that's what you and I maybe went through, right?
Right. So that's changed the dynamics. And now when I sit down with parents, they don't realize the change is happening at home. But I ask them, the first question I ask them is how has the dynamics of home changed now that kids come home from a personalized learning environment, and what are they talking about at home about what they're learning? And the parents continually tell me, everyone I talk with, they can't stop talking about what they're learning every day in school. Where do you find that? Right? How often do we?
It's a new frontier, right?
We had kids go home and the parents continually say, I ask them what they did, and they always say nothing. What'd you learn today? Nothing. It's totally flipped. Yeah. They go home and it's like the parents are going, okay, that's enough. we got to do something else now.
Let's eat our dinner.
Yeah. So it's changed that whole home environment for kids.
You mentioned K-5 and the ownership of learning even at the youngest levels. I'm also curious in the way in which you've looked at procurement of technology, because I think we're starting to really mature, I think, in our discernment of technology that is either better applied to the high school or the upper levels as opposed to the younger students, and then making sound decisions based on understanding that, kindergarten through 5, they're going to have different needs, along with the way in which we support the teachers. Have you noticed that shift as well, and how do you approach it so that it's not just a catch-all technology that we try to put on an elementary teacher that really doesn't apply?
Well, we're fortunate we've had a bit of a blessing. We are a Connect Ed school through Apple. So Apple came and partnered with us and created a backbone structure system with our IT department to have a seamless environment for technology. Then we have devices, but actual great professional development for teachers to be great users of the tools. So our kids aren't just consuming information, they are creating. They're learning, they're using the device to share information, to share what they've learned in different capacities. Now what we're finding is that our younger elementary kids are more adaptive in this environment than our juniors and seniors in high school. I sit down with the juniors and seniors and talk about what our kids are creating in the lower elementary levels, and their eyes are wide open. They go, well, I can't even do that yet. So we're this idea that young kids don't have the capacity is, wow, that's totally wrong. They have the capacity, they can do it, and they can actually learn a lot faster than even the high school students can.
Let's close with this, Jeff. When we think about the community of superintendents, and we're in a world now where being able to share and connect with people all across the world is just at our fingertips. Have you seen the way in which you communicate with your professional colleagues around Idaho, around the U.S., has changed, and do you find that ability to connect has impacted the way in which you even practice your leadership by learning from others that might be in urban districts, larger districts, smaller districts?
And the AASA has been a part of that for me, is being able to connect with these individuals like-minded in the personalized learning environment to really work with these superintendents across America has been a really godsend for me in Idaho. And now that Idaho is developing their own mastery-based approach and network that I'm a part of, that it's the best of both worlds. We're communicating in state and outside of state about what's best for kids, and the kids will only win when that happens.